if you don't know what we're talking about, Donald Trump today released a draft of an executive order where he straight up said he was going to save college football. And in that executive order, he talked about how, college football, we've just allowed these kids to make so much money. It's in the dumper now, and we've got to do something about it. And you look at these executive orders and you look at the verbiage of this. I don't understand this from a lot of different perspectives. Why are old men so upset that young men get to make a lot of money? When did we get into a position where we have the president of the United States, essentially the leader of the free world, saying, quote, court rulings have eliminated limits on athlete compensation, recruiting inducements, and transfers between universities, unleashing a sea of change that threatens the viability of college sports. So he is writing an executive order, and that executive order is going to create an infrastructure in the United States government to prevent athlete compensation, limit recruiting inducements, and limit transfers between universities. Well, why are we doing that? And if somebody wants to explain that to me, I'm wide open for it, because I don't get it. This is not who we are. This is this what we're doing as a country now, where we're telling people they can't make money? Is this what we're doing now, where we are saying that, it's just not, we can't have these young bucks making money. They can't transfer if they want to transfer. When did that become who we are?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the more money you make, the more jealous people get, and the more cooks are in the kitchen. And I think that's the problem. And I think it all harkens back to the age-old concept of kids are going to school and athletics are second, right? Like that sort of old world, thought process. And I think that that's sort of the issue is that, with all due respect, guys like Donald Trump and, I would say based on what's being reported and based on the coverage of this, a lot of the conservative politicians, I guess, in our country don't want these kids making money. They want them to go to class. And then the privilege of being able to play, football as an example.
Which I agree, it is a privilege. It is. To be highly paid and get a free education is a privilege.
But that's not what they're saying. They're the highly paid portion is what they'd like to leave out. They're saying it's a privilege just to get the free education through scholarship, and then you get to play football. If a business wants to sponsor you as a player or something, that's going to have to go through the school, or there's going to everyone's going to get their piece of the pie, not just you.
I think this is shocking. It's a huge mistake. You look at this. This is more. This is Ross Dellinger at Yahoo Sports. The draft, 7 pages long, titled, quote, "Saving College Sports," outlines directives from Donald Trump to members of his cabinet to do the following: provide college leaders with protections from antitrust laws around long-term availability of scholarships and opportunities for athletes. Prevent, quote, unqualified and unscrupulous agents from representing athletes. Support uniformity by presumably preempting the varying name, image, and likeness state laws. I mean, it is without question, this effort is to make NIL go away and prevent kids from transferring from school to school whenever they want. That's what the purpose is. It's in black and white. We almost can't even argue it now. And I don't know what you do about it.
Yeah, I think that because it is a problem in college football. Let's not sugarcoat this. The problem of kids transferring a lot, every year, is a problem in college football and college athletics. That's something that we haven't quite figured out yet. So I'm here for a conversation around, hey, if you're gonna commit to a school and you have money attached to that, you have an NIL deal with with a business that is sponsoring you in part because you're at the school you're at, then I'm all for commitment from the player. If you want to make money, you got to have it's the same thing as a pro athlete trying to change teams every single season, but they're on a 5-year deal. Like, that doesn't work. That's not how business is done. So I'm here for the conversation around straightening some of this stuff out. Like, hey, if you're at a school and you sign, let's say, a 3-year NIL contract, then there's commitment there. And if you want to get out of that contract, within the contract, there's got to be a path for you to do that, and you have to fulfill that. But the problem right now is kids are just doing whatever the hell they want, and that's the issue. But I just don't think we should be saying, hey, pull the money from the kid. What we need to be saying is, hey, let's put some guardrails around like how we're going to do business as a collective here, as a group.
I am in no way, shape, or form in favor of limiting the compensation that an American can make on their name, image, or likeness. I didn't say a college athlete. I said an American. And the problem with this whole thing is, what happened to the art of the deal? What happened to the ultimate democracy, the ultimate for-profit guy? What happened to, hey, in America, we work hard, we make money, we make our way, we make our opportunity, we do whatever the hell we want with our lives? What happened to that? Why are we hearing that, well, those kids should be able to make $500 a day, $500 a month, $500 a year? Why are we trying to limit how much money they can make? I understand, like you said, if you want to limit their movement once they sign a deal that says, hey, we're going to pay you, $1 million a year to play football at Notre Dame, you got to sign a 3-year deal. And if you want to get out, you got to pay half that deal, $1.5 million to get out of your deal. Okay, great. I'm here for it. You want to make an arrangement, unless you're the Pac-12, you follow the terms of a contract you signed, right? See, that was a Pac-12.
That was a Pac-12 not honoring their agreements and being a man of their word.
I'm all for holding people accountable for the contracts they sign.
Mm-hmm.
I am in no way, shape, or form, under any circumstances, in favor of limiting an American's right to make the money that they are able to earn. You are worth what somebody is willing to pay you. And if you're getting paid more than me, that's not about you. That's about me. I need to go out and earn more money if I want to earn what you earn. But we're not doing that. We're trying to tell kids, oh, that education's enough. Okay, well then, what about lifetime health care for football players and really athletes? Oh, well, Monty, we can't afford that. Well, you're taking the kids' money. You can't afford that. The kid's not allowed to make money, but he should walk around with injuries for the rest of his life, or limitations, or there's no justification that you can come up with that says, under the Constitution of the United States, we should limit how much money this kid can make playing football. Make it make sense. Do the math for me. Help me understand it. You can't. And that's why I say, when we talk about where this country is right now, we have a president throwing up an executive order that's never going to go to the vote of the people. This is just going to be forced through. And that's not who we are as a country. What happened to capitalism? Help me understand. When did we start telling people you can't make enough money? Oh, you can make money, just not too much. What happened?
And I think it's also this sense of control, right? I think, I agree with that. Like, when did we start, limiting how much money people can make? But also, like, I do think that there is this, sentiment again, with rich old white guy who runs college football and runs athletics to say, like, hey, we want to be able to control this. And the reason I say that is not just because, I don't like what they're doing, but if you really put yourself in their shoes, I want you guys to think about this. And I've said this about NFL owners for years, right? This applies to NFL owners too.
Yes, you have.
What are the players? The players are just assets, right? Like, I'm not saying that they don't treat them as human beings when they're speaking to them, But when they're sitting in their office or in their board meetings, or when the school leadership is getting together, they're not concerned about who's doing what. They're concerned about, okay, well, how are we going to make our nut for the year in athletics, and who's going to be the high level contributor in the program? They're not concerned about if you're happy with your money or whatever. They're just concerned about making sure that they have some semblance of control of the situation. And that's why I say, like, you look at this executive order and you look at the narrative and the conversation around it, and that's what this is. It's a system of control. It's them wanting to say, hey, you can't move the way you want to, and there are going to be parameters around how you make money and what NIL deals can look like. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm a little fuzzy, but in the executive order, he does mention employment on some level, like whether they should be employees or
they're
not.
They're student athletes.
And I just don't understand how we ever get to a place where these kids are employees. They should be 1099 till the world doesn't exist anymore. Like, it's clearly set up for them to be contractors. And I understand, pay your taxes, like, follow the system.
Right, but that's everybody.
Yeah.
That's it. You want to make money in this country, bro, you got to pay taxes. I pay a lady $220 a month to make sure that I'm not late on tax. We all pay taxes.
Like, the tax industry is a segment of the economy.
Right? But the problem is this isn't about taxes. This is a threat, because this executive order hasn't been rolled out yet. He talked about it 4 months ago. And now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we get the House settlement, no executive order. Now, 5 weeks later, all of a sudden, we drop a draft of an executive order threatening to decimate NIL. That's the stuff that I don't understand. And it's only one of a couple of things. The Epstein stuff, and this is a distraction. Okay, cool. I guess we don't have a war to start, because that's what most presidents do, right?
Well, he already played that card.
When a president needs to distract you and say, hey, don't look here, look over there where we drop bombs. Okay, well, we tried that. So are you telling me that's what this is? I don't necessarily buy into that. But here's the other thing. Is the only other thing that it can be. Well, I got to protect my friends that are rich. I got to protect my friends that are millionaires and billionaires. I got to protect my friends at Texas Tech. I got to protect my friends at there. I got to protect my friends over here. That's all this can be, is just a bunch of rich dudes trying to help each other, because that's all we've gotten over the last 6 months. That's all we got when Trump was president the first time.
Yeah. The
rich got richer. And that's what this feels like. It's a bunch of rich people trying to help rich people stay rich and get richer.
Unless those rich people are 20 years old and the stars of television playing college football.
I really hope that at some point, and this is just my opinion again, I really hope at some point a new entity is formed. All the power conferences join that entity. They get full antitrust exemption, and they can pay their players whatever the hell they want to pay their players. You want to put in a salary cap? Put in a salary cap. You want to forget recruiting violations, forget, hey, this kid did that. Pay your players. They have to pay their taxes. You have to pay your taxes. And we all get Alabama and Texas and Ohio State and Notre Dame and whatever. We get great football games every Saturday. And we can go back to talking about football, because I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm so burned out talking about NIL and money, and it's America. And I again, I'm not trying to be like the guy that slams you over the head with the Constitution. What happened to capitalism? Oh, freedom is only free when it helps you. But if it helps him,
now we got problems.
Like, that's what this feels like. Freedom's only free. Laws are only legal when they're not applied to you.
And I have to say, I'm not going to sit here and buy this concept that Trump is somehow an expert in NIL, or that this guy is like super educated in it. I think that
But he's a huge sports fan.
Yeah, that might be true. But just because you're a fan doesn't mean that you understand the inner workings of how this is affecting college football. What you understand is that you had a meeting with Nick Saban, and he said a bunch of great stuff, and you golf with people and things like that, but he doesn't have a full system understanding of
No,
what the issues are here.
But this is a guy that is a sports fan. This is somebody who's got a lot of friends. Him and Donald Trump, Nick Saban and Donald Trump spend a lot of time together. They golf together regularly, from what we understand, because the Sabanator lives in Florida. You spend a lot of time around these people. And I think you're looking at a president who's worried about his legacy. And I think this is an opportunity, but it's completely the wrong way to go about it. Limiting a young person's ability to make money on their talent is anti-American. Period. It's again, I go back to this example, and I can't remember who said it. We were listening to a bunch of audio before the show started about what happened to the art of the deal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the
what happened to the art of the deal?
So the attorney for...
Yes, Steve Berman.
Yes, Steve Berman.
In the House case. He represents the plaintiffs in the House case.
He puts out this statement, right, where he talks about, plain and simple, college athletes don't need Trump's help. And he goes on to talk about that Trump is, the deal maker, and he boasts of his deal making prowess. For Trump to want to put his foot on their deal making abilities is unwarranted and flouts his own philosophy on the supposed art of the deal. So I sit here and I say, you're not wrong. Like, there is some hypocrisy in this. I agree. You're talking about, suppressing a kid's ability to go into the marketplace, or have their agent go into the marketplace and get them sponsorship money, essentially. Like,
yeah.
So I mean, there's certainly some surface level hypocrisy, no question about it. But I also just, again, I just come back to this thing where, like, the leaders in college football, the Greg Sankeys of the world, and the people we talk about every day on this show, like, they need to get together and get this thing moving forward. Like, there needs to be a separation of classes, and you need to shrink the pot in terms of NIL, in terms of who has access and who doesn't, and what that looks like. Because
I would agree.
The problem is, once again, as I said yesterday on the show, there are too many damn people involved in college football for a solution to appease everyone's problem. That's why the NFL works well, because you've got 32 teams or whatever, and it's a small group of owners that can all come to one meeting and say, hey, Jimmy, are you good with it? What about Jarrah over here? Like, you can just take a vote and figure it out, but you can't do that here.
I think this is going to throw a wrench into the whole thing. I think, and the other wrinkle in this that I think is not insignificant, he wants to apply these same rules to Olympians. He does not want Olympians to be able to make money, for instance, on the Wheaties box.
Why?
It's a huge mistake. You will force people to go professional, and if you turn the Olympics back into amateurs only, forget it. Forget it. It's over. Like, I think it is one of the dumbest ideas. It is ridiculous to me. And now look at this. Greg Sankey made a special appearance on the Paul Feinbaum show, and maybe we can chase that audio. We know the president is interested in college sports. Sankey goes on to mention his golf outing with Trump last month. That's not Greg Sankey fighting this. You knew the flower was going to bloom, and there's going to be a bunch of layers to peel back on this.